We're going to open up for public comment. And don't worry, I'll also give you an opportunity at the end. So if you have questions or comments, we can discuss it since you don't know what we're going to talk about. All right. Seeing no public comment, executive session, we have no executive session scheduled. So I will move on to approval of minutes.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from September 10th, 2025 as presented.
Oh, second.
Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Financial report.
You want to add that down to them? So right now, on our vouchers, they're listed below for the amounts. However, our current funds account are showing as general fund after we paid all the bills today. Currently, our general fund cash is $63,508.93, and reserve cash, or liquidable cash, is still zero. EMS cash fund is $90,922.70. And then in our investment funds, we have moved everything, as you remember, into our reserve fund so we can have the best interest on our investment off of that. So currently we're at $234,033.41. So below that, we do have some outstanding invoices for the Ridge and some MOBs that are still pending for $56,114.21. And then we still have property tax and EMS levy tax still coming in from the second half that is pending. So that is what we currently have. And then you've got the voucher paperwork for the next section and a cash report that basically just breaks all that information down for you.
Any questions for Troy on the financials?
No.
Seeing none, moving on. Vouchers. So we have a general fund voucher for $14,286.79. That's 2509-06001 through 6011. Copier fees, fire engineering training, annual renewal, like L&I fees, insurance premiums, turnouts, auto repair, station supplies, and architectural deposit. We also have an EMS fund voucher in the amount of $4,879.03. Those are voucher numbers 2509-05001 through 5007. PPE maintenance fees, medical supplies, insurance premiums, and L&I insurance fees. Any questions on the vouchers for Troy?
No, I make a motion that we pay them as presented.
Oh, second.
Discussion? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Fire chief's report.
Alrighty. So currently we have 3 people in the Countywide Fire Academy that is being put on by the State Fire Marshal's office, so it doesn't cost us anything. They have taken their hazmat awareness test. We did, however, have one not pass. I did send a survey out to all the full-time staff. I do have some things to work on, including communication with them. Also, they're all requesting career and leadership development training, so at least we're pointing in the right direction. I am going to send a survey out to the volunteers here shortly. DC Seals is up on the Sugarloaf fire in Eniat/Leavenworth. He did break his truck. We took him another one Saturday night. Thank you, Bruce, out there. That was a very long day. And then between towing and repairs to his truck, going to be about $6,000 to get his vehicle out of hock.
Will that get covered in reimbursements? Or we can eat that one?
We'll eat that one.
Okay.
But
Just
it
curious.
is all, ultimately, we were going to have all of those expenses anyways, because all the things they found were, needed brakes, ball joints, things like that.
Fair enough.
It was the fuel pump that took him down. Okay, we're getting ready for some big updates and data entry, working with Troy on some of that. With ESO buying ERS, and I know it's a bunch of letters, we're gonna have to change where we're tracking like asset management and that kind of stuff. So there are gonna be some fees attached to that. We do have EMT applications are gonna be opening up pretty soon. I think we're gonna have 5 or 6 in the class. Could be as low as 4, but I think it's like 5, 6. And then we need to find a bunker gear grant. We have been uber successful in our recruitment and retention. However, we are not able to dress them. I spoke with Andrew Spear and then just had another conversation with him. He's going to come out as quick as possible to help us develop a budget for our capital improvements grant. And otherwise, I have been busy running down other agenda items. So there you go.
Any questions for the chief? No. Not at this point for me. All right, we don't have a deputy chief's report because he's out playing fire. Secretary's report.
Okay, so we still have the annual commissioners conference coming up at the end of October. We also have this coming weekend, 28th through the 1st. I will be going out to Wenatchee for the admin or administrative fire secretary conference training. It's a big, long title, but basically learning what other agencies are doing. I thought I was going to be the only guy in 110 people that were going to be there. Found out that one other admin will be there from, I believe it's from Tacoma. So I wasn't going to be completely overwhelmed. We got some correspondence from System Designs in regards to some increases for next year. Chief and I are working on that information as far as if there needs to be any changes on our side or not. And we'll bring that to you a little later. I forwarded this to you guys as part of the packet if you didn't see it. So just wanted to explain that it's a notice that we got for 2026. But we'll make sure that's adjusted in the budget when we present that. So, on top of that, election time, multiple agencies, 12, 16, 17, Merriam Knight and City of Shelton all had something on the books. And our portion that we are going to be debited for, I think on the 28th, is going to be $11,261.34 is our portion. So I have the breakdowns for you if you guys would like to see those or not. Additionally, there's, as you know, having more staff means a lot more paperwork and making sure that we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's. The biggest thing that I have found was making sure, since I took the job, making sure that we are communicating all of our paperwork in a timely manner to the IRS. And we have been doing great. However, the option to have our accountants actually submit the paperwork now electronically so that we actually get a digital signature that it was sent the week before it's actually due, instead of having to have them send it to us. We have to sign it. We have to go down to the post office, make sure it gets mailed within that moment. Otherwise, it gets late and then you get a late fee. Knock on wood, we've been pretty good. So they have asked for reporting agent authorization so that they can start doing this, and starting next quarter, they will be submitting all the paperwork for us, so we do not have to worry about that chance of getting any late fees. And just kind of, I looked at it as one more thing we're doing as a good steward with the funds that we have of the public, to make sure that we never have a chance to be paying a late fee. So we signed this, got this paperwork back to them, and that part's good to go. Beyond that, nothing else really going on.
Any questions for Troy?
No.
I'd like to say how much I appreciate you being on top of these things and making sure we're hitting all the details that we need to do. So it is much appreciated.
Sir?
So,
I will add to that as well, yes.
anything else? We patted him on the back enough?
Probably not, but That's enough of that.
I'm just gonna trip you.
My
all.
sign's already deflating.
Okay, use it.
All right, moving on to committee. Communications and PIO committee.
So the newsletter went out yesterday, it was mailed, and then we've got chief and community involvement, Rich West High School this Friday. We're doing some talk about wildfire and their projects over there.
Okay. Any feedback on the QR code survey stuff?
We've gotten
Yes.
3.
3?
Yeah.
Cool. Wasn't that like 2 more than last time?
So far, everybody says we're doing a good job with the public funds. However, we need to communicate more, which that tends to be an overwhelming theme. So
Okay.
be prepared for me to communicate.
Any suggestions on how to do that?
Yes.
Okay.
I've been told to shut up my entire life. So this is
Well-
ironic.
And for those that are tuning in from home, and I don't know how many are doing that right now, the newsletter went out by mail, but
Yes.
it's also on our website. So if you go to westmasonfire.org, in the upper right-hand corner, it says the fall newsletter. And Janelle's done an amazing job with the newsletter, so please check it out. But that is also where the QR code is. So if you just open it there, you can actually use your phone from there, or just go to the website, and there's a button that says survey at the very top. You can fill out the survey form directly from there.
We're always looking for feedback to make sure we're doing a good job.
Yep.
Anything else, Janelle?
No,
Thanks for staying on top of me about getting my articles in.
no problem.
Commissioner report. Commissioner Taylor.
We're making progress in the Grange, just for everybody's reason why we're involved with the Grange, we lease the land from the Grange that Station 9-1 is on. And along with that is the use of their restrooms. And due to a weather event a few years ago, the restrooms are currently out of commission. They should have gotten down the new flooring in the thing to finish one grant, working on another grant. And anyway, leading up to the thing that's hanging us up at this point is the restroom, because they provide the restrooms our station doesn't have any restroom in it. We use their restrooms. Their building is red tagged, and until they get that finished, we're using a porta potty. But in the meantime, they're making progress, got the flooring down on a grant, and now the focus is entirely on the restroom.
Well, I'm glad they're making progress. I'll be disappointed when there's no more Grange reports from
Yeah,
you,
right.
Commissioner. Commissioner Johnson.
Not at this time.
Is this your last report?
No, next one.
Next one, okay. We got one more with you. Okay. As for me, for those that aren't aware, we received a capital budget allocation from the state government for $515,000 to expand this station to better house our paid staff that we now have, as well as provide meeting space and office space for the rest of the staff. The initial plans are up here on the wall if you want to take a look at them, and that has been the focus of most of my living and breathing outside of my day job, is trying to wade through the mountain of state paperwork to get this done. And we're at a point now where I need a couple bits of information to fill out one form so I can submit another form, so I can submit another form, but we are moving forward. So what this will allow us to do is add more sleeping quarters for staff, because our ultimate goal is 2 people on 24/7. Right now, we're at 1 person plus volunteer, as well as some secure storage, a meeting room that's not in a bay, that's big enough to house it, and allows us to separate their living and workspace from our living and workspace, so they can move about doing their job comfortably and do it the way they need to. So it's been a monumental thing to get this, and we're very excited to get it done. So right now we're just in the initial paperwork phase, but those are the plans at this point. So I've been spending a lot of time on that, and everything else that I have will be covered under new business. Anything else, gentlemen?
No?
Moving on to old business. Commissioner Taylor.
Okay, the Skoke Grange, the Grange with the lease with the Skoke had been allowed to lapse. They're not exactly on top of everything in that. It's pretty much a volunteer group at this point. I'm part of it, but it's still not great. Anyway, they got a grant from the state Grange, but they needed a copy of our lease. So we signed that through the end of the year, but we're gonna have to work on getting a new lease that is correct. As chief, they have Eric Quinn draft what essentially is going to be an interim lease. Normally it doesn't come from us, but they don't have anybody that is up to date on what the original lease was. So they have to hire an attorney, and they don't have any money. So Eric Quinn is gonna draw up it, give it to them, let them review it, and then it'll come back to us. So it's a little bit of an odd thing, but that is what's going on with that.
Okay.
That's about it.
See, I love hearing about the Grange. All right, now the moment you've all been waiting for and why everybody's here. New business, okay? On September 17th, 2025, at the Mason Fire District 12's meeting, there were some allegations made by their fire chief against folks from West Mason Fire and our organization. And I will tell you those allegations that were made were about fraudulent billing, as far as putting people in ambulance, billing them even though they went by Central Mason, and allegedly 3 complaints that were filed with the Department of Health based on performance of our people in District 12. I have the receipts, as has become the thing to say these days. From the Department of Health, I have public records requests going back 5 years for any complaints against our organization or anybody, any of the providers on our roster. And I have the emails to show have been no complaints in the past 5 years on this organization or our people. So those allegations are patently false. As far as billing, I'll let the chief get into that, but I will not stand for people disparaging this organization or the hardworking staff and volunteers of this organization to whatever end, whether it's their own end or whatever their purpose may be. We've got a lot of great people here doing great things, sacrificing a lot of their own time to serve this community. And all this does is makes it harder for us to do certain things like pass a levy. Thankfully, we don't have that for another 5 years because we graciously got our levy passed just recently. But those sort of allegations live for a long time. And we're here to address those so that way that doesn't get pushed through the community as truth, and it is not. I also have sent an email to the commission chair of Central Mason Fire because the allegation was that information was provided to Chief Brown from a chief at Central Mason. I sent that email last week and I did not get a response. So as of yesterday, I sent a public records request to Central Mason for any communications from January 2022 to current that were between Central Mason Fire personnel and District 12 regarding West Mason, and between Central Mason District personnel and the Department of Health regarding West Mason. I am certain that's going to come back that there wasn't any communications with the Department of Health, but again, I like to have the receipts, so we will have those documents in hand. They told me in the email that on or before December, I will get those documents. But at this point, that is what I'm here to address. I'm not happy. This is not how we treat people. We don't make allegations like this that could be damaging to an entire community. And I'm not going to stand for it. Chief, I know you have a few things to say.
Yeah, so I went through and did my own public records request to the Department of Health. Again, there's nothing on any person or the organization itself. If you look at our fee schedule, which is, I'll hand it to anybody who wants it, one of the allegations was that we've billed people when we didn't transport them. First of all, we don't even have that set up in our billing. If you look, Central Mason is the only agency in the county that can actually bill for a non-transport, a treat and release services. As far as putting somebody in an ambulance only to transfer them out to a Central Mason ambulance later, Yes, that has happened. Sometimes you get to a scene, it's raining, the house is, not conducive of great patient care, whatever. Yes, we have moved people to an ambulance where we could provide quality patient care and then moved them into another ambulance. It's a thing. One of the things that I really want to point out, and I truly don't understand the motives for what I consider blatant and damaging lies about this organization. If the cameras spun around, they would see a huge group of folks in uniforms, a huge degree of pride, and furthermore, training, certification, and accreditation to do the jobs that they are doing most for free. And to disparage that in any way is reprehensible. And the things that we've done for District 12 throughout the last couple of years as they've tried to recover their abilities, we provided them and connected them with our mechanic. We found them an attorney. We allowed our Deputy Chief Greg Seals to sponsor and use his EMT instructor credentials for their emergency medical responder class. We sponsored and conducted a full fire academy at a cost of about $20,000 to us. All but a few of their members ended up dropping out before the class even started. Fortunately, we were able to fill it, and we got a lot of good trained folks out of that. We printed off countless policies. I helped Mike and Nick find laws. We sponsored Nick Jones for the EMT class, paid all of his tuition, and then also paid for any continuing education going down the line, with the idea that both Mike and Nick were looking to merge the departments once they got it away from the Walsworths. The list goes on. We put on their EVIP class and rodeo, and then even when things were getting tense, we still put on another EVIP rodeo for them. We hosted the EMT retest for one of their members that failed and then ultimately failed again. Contrary to popular belief, I have never recruited a member of Fire District 12 to come and join this department. They have requested to come here for training, experience, leadership, and we've allowed it. Whether or not they continued at District 12 or not is absolutely immaterial. So our response, specifically mine as the fire chief, I am not here to punish the taxpayers of West Mason. I'm not going to withhold quality, competent, certified help. However, we will respond as requested and as provided in the Mason County Mutual Aid Plan and Agreement, but we will not send crews into that area without a senior officer going first. In my mind and in the mind of my other officers, that is the only way to provide for safety of our crews and to make sure that they're not legally imperiled in any way responding into Matlock. When I helped Mike and Nick and those guys get that district back, I had no idea that it was just going to be a different flavor of the same drink. I'm sorry that I did that. Looking back on it all, it was with the best of intentions. And I hope at some point the community's able to get good quality leadership back in their community. So that's where I'm at.
Before I let you guys respond, I have a couple more things. First of all, I will not apologize for trying to help the community. We did it with the best of intentions. That it was not received in the way our folks are being treated now is neither here nor there. The community needed help. We stepped up to help. The idea that we're after District 12's money or it's just a power grab, I will tell you that I have spoken with people across the district that it makes sense for both communities to join together. That is what's happening all over this country. Smaller districts are struggling to survive. We're doing really well, but that's on the backs of our volunteers and our paid staff. That doesn't always last. I've been involved in many volunteer organizations that ebb and flow over the years. So in my mind, and consulting with commissioners all over the place, it makes sense for smaller districts to merge in this day and age. Everything costs so much. There's so many costs that we can, as a community, come together and spread that load out versus everybody having to have their own little kingdom in their silo. That is the only intention that we ever had as far as any sort of merger, was what was in best interest of our community as well as District 12. I have a lot of people in a vested interest in District 12. I've spent a lot of time there. I'm there almost all summer. My best friend lives there, so I am tied to that community. As far as punishing the people who live within 12, that is not any intent, but I do argue that responding as requested by that chain of command, I don't like. I understand responding within the mutual aid agreement that we signed as an organization with the rest of the county, but responding to help, people asking for help who are just going to spit in our face, I don't agree with. So that is my stance on that. I will leave it to my other commissioners to speak to that. But ultimately, the only reason I'm in this job, I don't need to have this job, is I decided that I needed to make a difference in my community. And this was a way that I could do it. We didn't have a commissioner, we were short one. I asked the chief, I went to the community meeting and said, hey, how can I help? Well, you can volunteer. Well, I'm not that type of guy anymore. I'm getting a little long in the tooth for that. But they said, we have a job as a commissioner. And I said, well, you know what? I can do that kind of stuff. Policy and those sort of things are things that I do in my day job. So let me help my community. That's why I'm doing this. There's no power trip. There's no other thing than trying to help the community. And I'm trying to help a community that I dearly love, that I have what I consider family in. So those are my motivations if anybody has those questions. Commissioner Taylor, do you have anything to add?
Very little. I agree with 100% of what you said. You know, it's a fine line between the request and mutual aid that I don't fully understand, not being a firefighter. So I defer to other people on that. The idea that our people are being disparaged doesn't sit well at all with me. I know these people too well, seen them go through training, been to all their training, graduations and things like that. I know what they're doing, how hard they work. I guess the chief's comment that essentially we need to make sure that our people are represented and safe. And that's about all I have.
Commissioner Johnson?
I mean, I definitely agree with what you said. With a couple of things, there's no memo understanding. So we've come so far financially in this organization. So I do think it would be a disservice to our population here to then use our funds to respond out there, and there's no agreement, especially with the false accusations that have just come through. I definitely think it puts our volunteers and everyone else at a disservice and in a kind of a sticky situation. So I would also encourage us to lean to our attorney on how we should proceed, so that we can fully protect our organization and moving forward.
And I have been in communication with him also.
Perfect.
Chief, ultimately, as we've discussed, we get to play with policy, you're our operations guy. So if that's what you decide is best for our operation, we will have that discussion, we can make that agreement. But again, at the response to their leadership's treatment of our people, I don't help people that spit in my face when they ask for help.
I think our leadership, the officers and chiefs, there's enough experience, integrity, moxie, for lack of a better term, that as long as those folks are going forward ahead of the crews, that we can keep our folks out of trouble, both physically and legally. And
I'll defer to you on that. If that changes, feel free to make adjustments. One more thing that I'm going to add, and then we can move off of new business unless my fellow commissioners have anything else to talk about. I am researching legal action for defamation of our organization. One of the big things is financial harm and what this could do to our abilities to pass a levy in the future to continue to bring funds in to support our community based on the accusations of another. I'm going to fully research that and see what avenues we have. But there's going to be some time on that because I'm not an attorney, so I need to spend some time reading. Anything else, gentlemen? Hearing none, we're going to move on to the good of the order. Nothing?
Don't have anything.
Wow. Sure, Chief, you got a chance to talk?
We're away shoot for this.
Well, under good of the order, because we've talked about a lot of things today and there was a lot of information put out there, I would like to open it up to the floor again for anybody would like to say something.
Hi, all. I'm Margaret Sarah. I live at Lake Milazzo. I'm part of Fire District 12, and I definitely am completely ashamed and embarrassed of the situation that our fire district has created. I attempted to try to stop him, but did not listen and continued on with everything he said. I spent years going to meetings, fighting corruption, and going after those people, meeting after meeting after meeting, only to have us get a chance to get back and have the fire department and be completely disgruntled with the leadership we have there, or lack of leadership. The intelligence is not there. And a big portion of our biggest problem is we have a fire association with a president who's got some power-hungry trip that he is pushing a lot of these decisions and ideas. He's the puppet master, as I've called him before, and nobody is functioning and looking out for the community. Many of their decisions they have made have not been what the community has asked for. And so we are suffering horribly, especially my proximity to here. It's much safer for my family and the medical situations that we have in our home and around the lake. And we continue to push to have West Mason be back on that run card, and we are ignored. And we as a community have to think about what's best for us, and definitely what's going on is not best for us. Unfortunately, the #1 commissioner, Trina Young, who has fought tooth and nail to the community, has been outvoted 2-1 on everything she tries to do. All of those other commissioners, fire chief included, have treated her horribly and been extremely abusive to her. And she is no longer going to be a commissioner, she's stepping down. And unfortunately, that leaves us open to even more poor decision-making. And so I am here as a community member from Fire District 12 to apologize.
Well, we accept your apology, even though it's not where it needs to come from.
Yeah.
But I do.
I agree.
But thank you for standing up and coming to talk to us. We really appreciate it. We value your input. Anybody else? Commissioner?
Carswell, Commissioner Mason, I was actually at that meeting and I, not having any knowledge of anything, I thought I should come and hear the other side of the story. So it's good to get feedback, because the one thing I've discovered getting into politics, everybody takes, their perspective. It's not necessarily the whole story. So I appreciate your comments. It's meaningless. I can't apologize for Fire District 12 or anything like that. But I hate to see it break down between groups that should be a brotherhood. That's really, you guys are out fighting for the community and the people at large. And I know firefighters don't care whether they're on the border of Fire District 12, or it just doesn't matter. You're going to try and save lives, and it's just a shame if it breaks down into this kind of squabble, so. I'm sorry it's come to that, but I just came to basically hear the other side of the story. So,
Well, thanks for being here, Commissioner, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
And, we're also not happy that it's come to this. I have an entire peanut gallery hiding behind the camera. Does anybody want to say anything? Come on. Going once? Going twice? Hearing none. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Oh, second.
Meeting is adjourned, 16:35. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.